Sure, and Joyce is joining us, I believe.
She's at the water fountain.
Oh, okay, great.
Is James?
He's
Right.
there.
Okay.
So let's go ahead and begin by noting the following. We are joined by Jesse Olzak, representing the Director of the Budget, and Chris Curtis, representing the Commissioner of Taxation and Finance, participating via video conference from the Division of the Budget's Conference Center at the Capitol Building, Room 131 in Albany. We're joined also by B. Gonzalez, participating via video conference from HCR's office in Syracuse at 620 West Erie Boulevard, Suite 312. And we are joined by Hope Young-Watkins, participating via video conference from HCR's office in Buffalo at Electric Tower 535 Washington Street, Suite 105. In accordance with the Open Meetings Law, notice of our locations has been made public, and the public has the right to attend and observe proceedings from these locations. We'll now do a roll call for each of the meetings and use those votes as items are considered, unless a board member indicates an intent to vote differently or a need to recuse. Starting to open the meetings of the New York State Housing Finance Agency, the Affordable Housing Corporation, and the Housing Trust Fund Corporation. Ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meetings.
So moved.
Second.
I now ask for individual votes from the members of the HFA board, the AHC board, and the HTFC board, starting with Chairman Weiss.
Aye.
Commissioner Wisnauskas.
Aye.
Mr. Olzak.
Aye.
Mr. Curtis.
Aye.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Come back to Mr. McIntyre, Ms. McEwen.
Aye.
Ms. Miller.
Aye.
Ms. Young-Watkins.
Aye.
Thank you. To open the meeting of the HFA Finance and Program Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
And for the individual votes of each committee member, we'll accept the previous votes. So James, can I get your vote? Thank you. Mr. McIntyre. The meetings are officially open. We can hold off on opening the SONYMA meetings for a bit.
Okay, I wasn't sure, so James wanted to tell them, but we're gonna open. Okay.
Okay. Or we can go ahead and let's just get it over with. To open the meetings of the State of New York Mortgage Agency, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. Now I ask for individual votes from the members of the SONYMA board, starting with Chairman Weiss.
Aye.
Commissioner Wisnauskas.
Aye.
Mr. Olzak.
Aye.
Ms. Gonzalez.
Aye.
Ms. Miller.
Aye.
Okay, and Professor Ford and Mr. Freeman are with us, and we'll get their votes when they join us in the room. To open the meeting of the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee, I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Second. And for this meeting, we need to open the meeting of the SONYMA Finance and Program Committee, and I ask for motions and seconds to call to order, consider each agenda item, and later adjourn such
moved.
meeting.
Second.
Okay, thank you. These meetings are officially open.
Terrific. Thank you. I'll turn it over to the commissioner for her report. Ruthann?
Ooh, you went so fast, I don't have it open, sorry, now I'll take it back to my. Hi, happy October, everybody. I feel like I'm a little, can you guys hear me okay? I feel it's like a little echoey.
Yep.
Yeah, good,
Sounds
okay. Okay, it has been, as I'm sure it is for everybody in their own respective places, a very busy month. We did a great event up in Schenectady. This is something that we talked a little bit about before, where we did a pilot in Schenectady and Syracuse and in Newcomb, which is in the North Country, with 3 different land banks to site 3 manufactured factory-built homes. They all were sited. I think 2 of the 3, if maybe not all 3, have been sold. And they are great, you know, they're beautiful houses. They fit into the neighborhoods where they are. They were delivered in about 6 months or less, and they were delivered at about half our typical cost for a single-family home. So we will are in the process of launching an expansion of that, which the governor announced. If folks saw, there was a New York Times article. If not, I can send it around, talking about the pilot and then talking about the expansion. We're going to try to do 200 more of these, again, sort of premised on having the amount of time it takes to build the houses and doing them, about a third of the time that it takes the typical construction and about half the cost. it's not the ultimate solution to all housing everywhere, but it's a great sort of tool in our toolbox. We are really excited to have the governor come out and tour one of the houses, and she was really excited about it. And she talked to the New York Times reporter, so that was great.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Long time coming, and shout out to Dina Levy.
Huge, is she here? Oh yes, huge shout out to Dina's brainchild, and is she has been working on this for a very long time, and we're really excited to see it finally happen. And the houses are just there. Everything we do is great looking, but these are particularly great. We also went to the NYSAFA Upstate Conference. NYSAFA held their Upstate Conference in Rochester this year. A lot of staff went up. Steve was there, the board chair was there. A lot of panels that staff sat on talking about our programs, where we are, changes we're making to our policies. A lot of conversation about stability in the affordable housing portfolios, and challenges people are having and ways we can help address that. It was great. Nice to sort of get up to Upstate and be able to see a lot of the work. As you all know from what comes through the board, we are fairly active in Rochester, so it's a great place to go see sort of the footprint of the agency live.
The tour was particularly.
Yes, shout out to Lenny Skrill, who did a tour and really helps drive home just how many projects we financed in the city of Rochester and how transformational many of those projects are, and how in many places you can't tell the difference between a HCR state-funded affordable project and a market rate project. And really sort of building out the fabric of communities in ways that I think are tremendous.
It's very impressive.
It was great. It's also nice to step away for a minute from all of our email, Excel, and get into a bus and look at bricks and stuff. It's
That they're actually housing there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and at the we did a ribbon cutting at a really beautiful building, and 3 of the I think they were all veterans who were living in the apartments there talked about the opportunity to live in a building, and it's always sort of the most impactful part of that is hearing from the people who actually live in our buildings. We'll talk a little bit about the federal shutdown, just because it's hard not to talk about it. But really just to say, we remain in close coordination with the governor's office. We, as of this moment, don't have any sort of adverse impacts to our, at this moment, but we are only in day 9, I guess. And we will certainly come back to the board should there be we are concerned and are watching, and I can see Dan and Syracuse and Section 8 is one of the places where we very much are concerned and very much are watching. So far, okay, but we will come back if we next month with more of an update.
Transfer funds.
So we receive funds on the 1st of each month for the majority of our programs. We run a Section 8 voucher program. We run a sort of a project-based administration. We get about $150 million a month that comes through. Because it comes on the 1st, I'm not sure, we received all of our funds on the 1st, I'll say. So happily, we were able to pay all of our landlords and all of our voucher holders, and we will see how we get as we get towards November 1st, but that's great.
Excuse me.
Yeah.
On that point, the president has made some pretty clear remarks with respect to some transit funding that was supposed to be coming through, which is just, is already held. So the question, which I guess following up on that is, do we have any sense that the president is going to just look at everything and X out everything, or this is just a fit that he was having at the moment?
It's a good question. We, for our part, have a variety of ways that we get funding in from the federal government that include Section 8 vouchers, which goes to landlords to the benefit of tenants. We run a weatherization program, so we're working with nonprofits. We have CDBG funds that come through us. We have this program called Federal Housing Trust Fund. So we have a lot of touch points with the federal government, and we I don't know anything more than anyone else does about what the president may or may not do. I think Section 8 is a program that, as I'm sure you know, has very long-standing bipartisan support. So, and unlike sort of one-time transit funding, right, is something that's been around this program's been around for a very long time. So I don't know, and we're going to keep watching it. And obviously, as we inch towards November 1 and we have to make our next big set of payments, we're going to be hoping that we are out of the shutdown by then. But just being out of the shutdown also doesn't mean that other bad things aren't going to happen, because there have been a lot of proposals to cut the budget in half for Section 8, to block grant it and give it to states and have states pay for part of it, to impose work requirements, to impose time limits. I mean, there is a lot right now on the Section 8 front that is would be have a lot of negative impacts for the people that currently benefit from the program. So we worry about all of that. And, you know, as we hear more stuff, we will come back to the board and talk about that. So I don't know, the whims of cutting stuff, I think are something we are afraid of and have no way to gauge whether or not they're coming and when, but.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And that's I mean, Section 8 is definitely, because it is so tied into people, is we watch all of them, but we especially watch that one. I was trying to think of something really positive to say before I turn it back to you, Steve. But I got nothing. Okay, that's all I have for this one.
Okay, thank you. Next item, the approval of the prior meeting's minutes, which will be deemed approved absent any corrections or modifications. Item 3, Land Bank Initiative Awards and Amendments. Crystal Loeffler, President, Office of Community Renewal, will present this item and the next 3 items. Crystal?
Hi, good afternoon. Actually, this is Jessica Gabriel. I work with OCR, sitting in on for Crystal today. So regarding the resolution authorizing the Land Bank Initiative Awards, Office of Community Renewal offers an open round request for applications to allow land banks to request Land Bank Initiative funding as new projects needs arise. This month, we're seeking approval to award up to $2 million in Land Bank Initiative funds to the Kingston City Land Bank to support acquisition and pre-development construction costs for planned projects in the city of Kingston. These funds will be used with private foundation resources as well as other HCR development sources to complete 12 rehabbed and new projects. Thank you for your consideration. I'm happy to answer any questions from the members.
Great. Thank you, Jessica. Any questions? Well,
Now before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried and the resolution is adopted.
great, thank you. Next item, for Downtown Revitalization Initiative and New York Forward Awards. Jessica?
So the Department of State serves as the lead agency for Downtown Revitalization Initiative and the New York Forward activities statewide, but awarded projects are assigned to participating state agencies with appropriate expertise and related project portfolios. HCR, for example, is typically assigned downtown grant programs or grants that support rehab of not-for-profit facilities as they align with the structure of HCR's New York Main Street program. This fall, Department of State announced the selected projects for round 7 of the DRI and round 2 of the New York Forward programs. This month, we're requesting approval to enter into grant agreements for 19 DRI projects totaling $10,016,000 and 24 New York Forward projects totaling $11,798,000. The full list of approved projects are included in the board book. In addition to this request, and related to these new awards, we're requesting approval to enter into a grant agreement for a New York Forward Round 1 project. This project was awarded last year, but was not ready to proceed when the other New York Forward projects were approved in October 2024. So full details are in the memo, and I'm happy to answer any questions from the members.
Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
The only thing I want to add is I was actually at the Roxbury Town Picnic, and they could not be more complimentary of OCR and Crystal and her team in terms of just being able to sort of, as an agency, and what these programs mean to small towns. So
Nice.
it was very, very, very positive feedback from Peg Ellsworth at the Mark project.
Oh, thanks for that.
Spent a lot of time in Roxbury.
Thank you. Well,
Okay, before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is adopted and the resolutions are carried or reversed.
Great, thank you. Item 5, Downtown Revitalization Initiative Amendment. Jessica.
Thank you. The Housing Trust Fund Corporation Board approved a slate of HCR assigned projects for the 6th Downtown Revitalization Initiative round in October 2024. This included $500,000 for the Village of Homer. However, the village has since determined it did not have the capacity to administer, and we're requesting approval to adjust the grant agreement to identify the Cortland County Business Development Center as the contracting entity. Full details are in the memo, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do they have the capacity to administer this?
Correct. Yes, they do.
All right, well,
Before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution adopted.
Great, thank you. Item 6, New York State Community Development Block Grant Economic Development Awards. Last one for you, Jessica.
Thank you. The Office of Community Renewal makes $15 million in New York State Community Development Block Grant funding available annually in an open round application for CDBG eligible economic development activities. This month, we are recommending 3 CDBG Economic Development Program Awards totaling $1,230,000, which includes $300,000 for the Delaware County Microenterprise Assistance Program, $300,000 for the Greene County Microenterprise Program, and $630,000 for the Village of Canastota to assist Canastota Dairy Products Expansion Project. These proposed awards are expected to assist 25 businesses. Full details are in the memo and individual project briefing sheets, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you, Will.
Now before the HTFC board, our resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Item 7, Senior Housing Program Award, Syracuse Housing Authority Eastwood Heights Rehabilitation. Brett Hebner, Vice President of Multifamily Finance, will present this item. Brett?
Good afternoon. The board approved a Federal Housing Trust Fund award to Syracuse Housing Authority's Eastwood Heights Rehabilitation Project in September of 2024. Those funds have a commitment deadline of November 2025, and this project has experienced delays in closing on construction financing, primarily due to negotiations with the city of Syracuse on a land swap, as the city owns the underlying land, and the project will need to transfer that land to the tax credit entity. So to ensure that these federal funds are utilized and not left on the table, so to speak, that they will be utilized in a 4% project that's closing imminently, and to substitute for those Federal Housing Trust Fund, that award, we're asking the board to approve a $2.77 million increase to this project's Senior Housing Program Award to substitute. The project itself is a preservation of an outmoded 49-unit senior project in Syracuse, which will be expanded actually by several units to total 53 by using the gymnasium that's inside of the project. Any questions on that?
Thanks. Thank you, Brett.
Note for the record that the chairman has recused himself from this vote. Now before the HTFC board, our resolutions transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Item 8, increase to Housing Trust Fund Award, 3 Mile Harbor. Brett, you're up again.
Sure. So we're requesting the board's approval of a $1.1 million increase to the Housing Trust Fund Award for Georgia Green Ventures 3 Mile Harbor Project. The project, which was initially approved by the board in 2021, involves infill modular construction of 50 residential units in a low resourced area in East Hampton, Suffolk County. The project is working towards closing on permanent financing and has experienced delays related to cost escalation, primarily due to the insurance that they were relying on, the vehicle that they were relying on to get affordable insurance for the project has changed, resulting in a significant increase in insurance. They had to go out into the market, find more expensive insurance, basically, and during that delay, it created a funding gap. also related to that funding gap is the, I'm sorry, it reduced the permanent loan is what I was trying to get out there. Because of the impact on the operating budget, reduced the amount of permanent loan that was that the project could support. So the project placed in service in 2024, meaning that we can't provide additional low-income housing tax credits to help with the gap. So the HTF award would be the likely next candidate. So we're requesting an increase from $3.4 to $4.5 million to allow the project to advance to a closing on permanent financing.
Thanks, Brett.
I'll note for the record the chairman has recused himself from this vote. Now before the HTFC board is a resolution transmitted in connection with the item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Great, thanks, Brett.
Sure.
I had a question I wanted to ask.
Please.
Is the insurance increase because it's a shoreline community, or like, why was there such a huge increase in the insurance? Can you hear me? Could you hear my question?
Yes, I could. Thank you. I have limited understanding, but I believe they had some kind of was it NICERS? I'm trying to recall what it was. But they had it affected multiple projects in this area. As you might know, that this 3 Mile Harbor area is undergoing a major redevelopment. It was either through the housing authority or through NICERS or something. It was a very favorable insurance rate they were able to obtain, and for whatever reason that arrangement was canceled along the way, and so they had to go out into the marketplace and find basically market rate insurance. Sorry, I didn't give you a very good answer there.
It wasn't so much that they went to a much higher insurance cost because it needed a more insurance cost. They just had a preferential rate prior. Okay, that's helpful.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Great. Item 9, Community Land Trust Support Program Awards. Dina Levy, Senior Vice President, Homeownership and Community Development, and Anika Nawabi, Director of Special Initiatives, will present this item. Hi,
Thank
Anika.
you. Hi, good afternoon, everyone. The Office of Community Renewal, Homeownership and Community Development, we're seeking your authorization to enter into grant agreements with 13 awardees of the Community Support Land Trust, the Community Land Trust Support Program. This is a new program which is based out of an appropriation we received in this year's budget for $1.5 million. We issued an RFP to nonprofit CLT organizations. And we received 26 applications. We, put together a review committee, and we graded all of the applications. Out of that, we deemed that 13 of the applications, merited an award. Out of the 13, there are 5 established CLTs that we're funding, 6 emerging CLTs, and 2 technical assistance providers. In total, the grants will total $960,000. With the remaining of the funds that are in this fund, we aim to probably issue another RFP for that in the new year. So for this afternoon, would like to seek your authorization to enter into these grant agreements with the 13 awardees.
I think these are great. I think the programs are great, and I'm very familiar with sort of the Western Queens one. Next phase beyond this, I don't have an understanding of how to finance stuff that sits alongside with community land trusts. One of the things that would be interesting, if they're interested, the Western Queens is interested in acquisition of a property, I don't know how that impacts the structure, but I think if this is an emerging trend, something to think about ultimately is how to actually support on the financing side, what that looks like. Because I just think it has probably different, Will, you may know better than from a structural perspective how it looks.
Sorry, no, go ahead.
Is your question how does a homeowner get financing on a CLT?
If for example, the next thing is if folks want to acquire buildings or do stuff, this is obviously a different ownership model structure. So how does it impact sort of the building
So
on
if you were,
top?
let's say,
Yeah.
purchase a 10-unit project and
Yeah.
put it on a land trust, so
Yeah.
the land trust as steward has
Yep.
a ground lease, so
Okay.
that they retain the ownership of the land, they're able to then put a 99-year restriction on what happens in that building. Similarly, if it's a single-family home, which is what most of them are actually doing,
Yeah.
they would retain a ground lease, so and then actually SONYMA is one of the few lenders who will make a mortgage
Got it.
through something called a leasehold mortgage, so that you're only putting a mortgage on the improvement, the
Got it.
home,
So it's
and
the
not
lease-
on the land.
leasehold
It's
structure
separating
is
the
what
land
effectively
from the
what fits.
asset.
Okay, that makes sense. Okay, that's great.
Okay,
Thank you. Okay.
Thank you. Will?
Before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, the resolution is adopted.
Item 10, emphasis contract renewal for Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher. Daniel Byer, Vice President, Assistant Commissioner, Rental Assistance Programs, will present this item. Daniel?
Good afternoon, everybody. So it's hard to believe it's been 5 years since we last procured a technology solution for our federal Section 8 Housing Choice Voucher Program, but it has. The original procurement for emphasis, which took place in 2018, contemplated a 5-year term with extensions for up to 5 years after that, so up to 2030. So now in 2025, we're back to the board to execute on the extension and utilize this software for another 5 years. As you can see from the board memo, a lot of work went into switching softwares in the Housing Choice Voucher Program. Some of the implementation is still ongoing. And now with 5 years past, we're able to see some additional technology that maybe wasn't available at the time we were writing the scope of work. But that could still be consistent with the scope of work and with what we're trying to accomplish with this contract. So we're proposing to not only extend the existing scope of work and contract, but add some things to it that'll make the system more effective and ultimately make us a better program, including an administrative or accounting suite that'll allow us to address a few recommendations from recent audits, insight analytics, which will help us forecast and look at our utilization in a more real-time, accurate way, and a document storage subcontractor who will allow us to achieve our goal of eventually making this program completely paperless. It's worth noting that the third one I mentioned, Laserfiche, the document storage, is that subcontractor is in the process of obtaining their MBE certification in New York State. So that's a great bonus. With all that, the extension costs a little bit more than originally contemplated, but it's still, we feel, cost reasonable. The original procurement contemplated extensions of 2 years and then another 2 years and then 1 year. So we're coming back for the first of those 2-year extensions at a cost of $4.3 million. All of the costs will be paid for by Section 8 administrative funds.
Thanks, Dan.
Dan, we should note, there are updated materials that should be in the board members' laptops on this particular thing. There was a Scrivener's error on the numbers, so.
Yeah, apologies for that.
Thank you. Questions? Will?
Now before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, the resolution is adopted.
Thank you. Item 11, contracts for Davis Bacon, prevailing wage monitoring, consultant services. Alexa Sewell, Senior VP, Multifamily Finance and Development, will present this item. Alexa?
Afternoon.
Afternoon. Right.
HCR is required to ensure compliance with federal laws around wages, which are called Davis-Bacon, that extend to a subset of our projects. We currently have 7 projects for which we are responsible for Davis-Bacon compliance. And on July 23rd, 2025, HTFC issued a mini bid solicitation for consultant services to firms on the HTFC pre-qualified list of Davis-Bacon services firms. We received proposals from 8 firms, 6 of which are qualified MWBEs. Bids were evaluated by the review committee on the following criteria: relevant experience, ability to meet deadlines efficiently, proposed costs, and in addition, staff from DECA reviewed each proposal for MWBE, SDVOB, and EEO requirements. The review committee selected A1 Works in Progress, a WBE firm, as the contract awardee and in an amount not to exceed $822,408.50, based on that criteria that I described. We're asking the board for approval to enter into a contract with A1 for a 3-year period.
Great, thanks, Alexa. Questions?
Do you have a sense of like what percentage of the project, like how much is Davis-Bacon, like, and obviously compliance driving up project costs? I'm just curious.
We assume about a 30% premium on project costs due to Davis-Bacon, and now we know that each project costs us about another $100,000 in monitoring.
Okay.
Thanks, Alexa.
Thank you.
Well,
Note for the record that Ms. Young-Watkins has recused herself from this item. Now before the HTFC board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with the item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Great, thank you. We're going to move to item 13. We're pulling item 12. Item 13, Lansing Field, City of Troy, Rensselaer County, AHOP, and Madeline Fletcher, Vice President, Small and Mid-Sized Development, will present this item and the next two. Hi, Madeline.
Hi, everybody. Okay, so this is a small project. It is 12 new single-family homes at prices affordable to households at 80% AMI in the city of Troy and the Lansingburg neighborhood. It's north of the downtown area. It's about 11 miles from downtown Albany, so easy commuting distance. This is going to be a row house style development with similar 3-bed, 2-bath sort of replicated layouts. The development team is led by Redburn Development, a longstanding developer in the Capital Region. They've done about 20 projects over the past 7 years. They have a larger site. They're sort of doing this. They don't do a ton of homeownership development. A lot of our affordable developers are sort of dipping their toes into homeownership development through our AHOP program. So while the site can hold up to, I think, 38 homes, they're doing this first initial 12 homes to see how it goes. So they could potentially do a second round up to 26 more townhomes on this site. The sales prices will be set around $252,000 per home, and that'll be those proceeds will be used to pay back the CPC construction loan of about $2.2 million, as well as the developer's equity contribution and the developer fee. We will contribute about $2.64 million to the project. The project will meet net zero energy ready standards, so they qualified for a little bit of sustainability bump, so they'll receive up to $220,000 per unit. The pricing reflects the discount to market, and the developer is partnering with TRIP, a long-standing nonprofit agency in the Troy area, to help with marketing, income qualifications, and everybody expects that the demand will be pretty strong. There's a lack of sort of new construction homes in the area. Most of the comps even were condos. So we think this will be well received. We're happy to recommend it and happy to answer questions. Thanks.
Thank you. Questions? Will? Oh, Sadie? Yeah. Will?
Sorry, this is before the HFA board. Resolution transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 Motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Great, thank you. Next item 1, Croton Point, Village of Croton-on-Hudson, Westchester County, Madeline.
Sure. Okay, so One Croton Point is a 100-unit condo project with all affordable units. They'll all be affordable at 80% AMI. It's a really great location. It's right by the Amtrak and Metro North station in the village. It's about an hour to Grand Central. The project is requesting $20 million of AHOP funds to construct this 5-story building. It'll be fully electrified, high efficiency. It'll have a solar array on the roof. It'll have EV chargers. The unit mix will be 46 one-bedrooms, 54 two-bedrooms. So there'll be some family units in there. The developer is Balter Partners, WBP Development LLC. They're like a super productive residential real estate firm in Westchester County. They do market and affordable work. We've already actually closed on 3 AHOP projects with WBP in Westchester, Stella 2, which is 126 units, which is a joint venture with L&M in New Rochelle, 6 Cottage Place, which is 40 units in White Plains, and 99 Church Street, which also has 68 units, also in White Plains. Those sites are actually adjacent. All 3 of those projects are under construction. I did a little drive around site visit earlier this week, so they're all well underway and anticipate starting marketing within the next couple of weeks. So I'll have a really good idea of market demand, and they expect it to be quite brisk. The total project cost here is about $68.4 million. Westchester County is contributing almost $12 million to help absorb the high cost of land in Westchester, as well as some of the big infrastructure costs. That's consistent with other projects that we're doing in Westchester. And CPC, again, has issued a term sheet for a construction loan of just under $29 million. The AHOP and the county subsidies will remain in the project, but the construction loan, any equity and developer fees will be paid from sales proceeds. The pricing for the homes ranges from $326,000 to $346,000, which represents a very large discount to market. There are some comparable units recently completed nearby, ranging from $785,000 to $1.25 million. So we're super excited. It's a really nice project and a really great transit location in a high-performing school district. So we're happy to recommend it.
Great, thank you.
I'll note that Ms. McHugh has recused herself from this vote. Now before the HFA board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
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 The motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Great, thank you. Next item, 15, 302 to 306 Mill Street, City of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County Small Building Participation Loan Program. Madeline?
Thanks. All right, switching gears a little bit. This is a project that we funded in April of 2021. It closed in September of 2021. It was the financing of a project with 17 units and about 4,000 square feet of commercial space and sort of a large building in the rear, like an old garage building. We funded $750,000 of small building participation loan program funds, along with a $1.7 million CPC construction loan and over $1 million in equity contribution from the borrower. After construction closing, the project was leased up in about April of 2023. Hudson River Housing has been the property manager since that time and has sort of kept the project afloat in spite of some borrower-created adverse conditions, which brings us here today. The borrower has not upheld its financial obligations, and rather than having this successfully convert to a permanent loan, as anticipated, a foreclosure proceeding has been filed. And so this has sort of been wrapped into the Wallace Campus project, which you'll hear about in a little while. But we want to make sure that we're able to preserve these units. There's fully occupied 17 units, quite affordable. And so what we're asking today is to allow for us to invest additional PLP funds up to 150,000 a unit to help facilitate a potential deed in lieu transfer to CPC from the existing borrower, and then eventually facilitate a transfer on to Hudson River Housing, who, again, their main office is across the street. They've been doing a great job of keeping it occupied and maintaining the property. We have, a much different rate environment. There's deferred maintenance. There's a loss of commercial income. The borrower is also the commercial tenant, has not been paying their commercial rent. So we are working right now actively with CPC, with our asset management team, everybody involved, to figure out exactly what the capital need, exactly what the financing need is to facilitate a future acquisition, any repairs or maintenance that needed, anything like that. So we're requesting up to the maximum potential small building participation loans, loan funds, which would add an additional potential $1.8 million. So that's sort of the maximum that we would need to invest into this property to help preserve it and make it sustainable over the 30-year affordability period, hopefully beyond.
So are there costs associated with this deed in lieu, and who picks up the tab on that? Is the existing borrower have any responsibility?
Well, the existing borrower, they should. We don't anticipate that they'll, sort of contribute much. I think they're working out a current a tax situation that's arisen, so we anticipate that they're resolving that in real time. But other than that, no, we're going to sort of work out with CPC how to sort of
Pick up the cost of the attorney.
Got it.
for deed in lieu, yeah. So, and then I think CPC has offered to waive, a bunch of the interest charges and stuff like that. So wherever we're able to have some
So
savings
at the end of
in
the
the
day, Hudson
transaction.
River Housing is in control,
Exactly.
and CPC will.
That's our goal, yeah. And so we'll sort of right size the loan.
Lender.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So CBC would be the permanent lender. We'll make sure that the final loan amount is supportable in, given rates, the rents that, that we're charging and everything like that.
Have they been able to find a replacement for the commercial tenant?
So there is while the borrower is the commercial tenant of record, they've actually they've subleased it. It was a master lease and they've subleased it. So Hudson River Housing has been talking, as well as CPC's asset management folks, talking to the subtenants about potentially staying on. But that'll still be less than was underwritten at the time.
That's going to go through the existing borrower as the
No,
tenant?
they'll be removed, and then Hudson River Housing would then release it. Yeah. So
great.
I think there's also more commercial space that's available to be leased. So Hudson River Housing would find tenants as well.
I assume you're recusing.
I'm recusing. Yeah. A lot of lessons learned on this one.
Yes. Yeah. Well, yes.
Was there a developer fee taken up front on this, or was it deferred?
So this program offers a very tiny developer fee, and I don't think and they did not take it on the front end. And they in fact put in a really huge equity component because they were intending to sort of go for historic tax credits sort of after the fact, which seems impractical. But yeah, so no developer fee. Yeah, so no developer fee.
Okay.
Yeah, they're losing a lot of.
Grace?
Yeah, I was just wondering, do we have any other projects pending with this borrower?
No.
Developer?
No.
That's one of the lessons learned.
Yeah. And when we did this one, we made specific arrangements around property management and stuff like that, which we thought would potentially be an issue, but there were bigger issues.
Yes, sir.
I know I'm not voting on this, but quick question. Given the, environment that we have with respect to just real estate generally and certainly housing in particular, how did this particular developer wind up on the losing side of this whole situation? What is it that they didn't do or did do to prove this? I would think that it's a pretty straightforward transaction. Right?
Yes, well, we thought so. Yeah, I mean, he didn't pay any construction interest, taxes.
Partners. It was
partners who fell out.
Borrowers. They fell out. They had, and the one borrower is particularly contentious. He's difficult. And so they just continued fighting, stopped paying, and continued fighting. We couldn't get them to come together, and it happens. Typically, I mean, the building is built, it's occupied, it's leased, so we have our collateral, which is critical, clearly.
Right.
But it just ended up being a fight.
Yeah, a fight, sort of.
But the developer walks away from this?
He loses all of his equity.
Yeah.
A significant amount.
He loses his equity,
Right.
but he doesn't have to pay anything more.
Well, it's easier,
Well, no, obviously,
as
yeah.
the first mortgage lender, it's easier to take a deed in lieu than to go through a foreclosure where they would file bankruptcy, then the whole thing goes into bankruptcy court, it's extended and protracted, there's legal fees, and you never make out as well.
And we lose our ability to maintain the affordability.
We would then have to bring the state along. Another first mortgage lender would have the option to wipe out the state.
Right.
We typically stay in there to try to maintain and preserve the affordability, which is also why the deed in lieu is a good option here. Because the key is preserving the affordable units, and getting a better owner in here in Hudson River Housing is a great option.
Are they going to get the historic tax credits? No.
I don't think they ever, I think the relationship fell apart before
That was
they
part
even.
of it.
Okay, so that
were
was like
able-
that wasn't even
No,
a real
no,
thing?
no, no.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's why we made him Bridget.
right.
So it
And
wasn't real.
they'd be recaptured anyway with a conveyance.
Yeah, that's what I was
Titles.
curious. Okay.
How did we get involved with this in the first place? And why were they ever chosen?
It's a CPC question primarily, I think.
Sorry.
You know, he had a track record.
Yep.
He had done other successful projects. He had never done one with his partner,
Right.
so. He's now on the do not fly list.
Yeah.
So that's an old story.
Okay, let's call the vote.
That
Well,
would be poor.
I'm recusing.
Thank you. This is before the HFA board, resolution transmitted in connection with the item. Assuming the motion and second previously reported, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried, the resolution is adopted.
Great, thank you. Item 16, contract with Bonadillo and Company LLP for forensic audit services. There's no presentation on this item. Any questions? Okay, well,
This is before the HFA board, resolution transmitted in connection with the item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Motion is carried, the resolution adopted.
Thank you. Item 17, contract with Urban Homesteading Assistance. You have incorporated for training and technical assistance services to Mitchell-Lama Cooperatives and Rentals, and Labria Gibson Obama, Director of Operations, Statewide Asset Management, will present this item.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm actually Kathy Sparks. I'm the director of Mitchell-Lama.
Hi, Kathy Sparks.
Labria's a bit under the weather this week, but yeah. So this afternoon, the item that I have for your consideration again is the approval of the contract with UHAB to provide technical and training assistance to our Mitchell-Lama co-op boards and renters. We see this as a great opportunity to enhance the capability of our boards, as well as to provide additional assistance and training for our rental owners. One of the things that we hope to accomplish with training for the boards is that they become more compliant with the Mitchell-Lama rules and our regulations and our statutes. We provide enhanced capabilities for overall financial management, best practices, board governance, board member fiduciary responsibilities. This will help them in selecting professionals to work with their developments, attorneys, accountants, managing agents. We also seek to help them understand the difference between the roles of boards, retained professionals, and management agents, to assist them in conducting annual elections, and to provide technical assistance on issues that are specific to their housing companies. For rental owners, we're hoping to provide them with guidance on how to submit budget rent determinations, to find ways to be compliant with local law 97, as well as other local laws, planning for capital improvements, and how to apply to HCR and private lenders to gain financing to rehab their developments. We received 2 proposals. We are recommending urban homesteading, and both firms were given an opportunity to be interviewed and were invited to provide further clarification on their proposals. Thank you for your time. Happy to answer any questions.
Thank you, Kathy.
Are we involved in the curriculum creation for this?
We will be. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I just, obviously I think in addition to sort of board management, some of the stuff with it, like, how are we thinking about, like, physical asset management and other things like that? Obviously,
Yes.
like, local law 97 is fine, but like, when there's other conditions and things breaking that. So, yeah, just making sure that, like, I guess we're able to obviously influence
Yes.
this as to understand, because we've obviously we've seen when things go wrong, and so we probably know where we can sort of insert best practices. So
Absolutely.
that's great.
And God bless you, Hab.
Yeah, and that's also too, like, I think if there's an organization to be delivering
I mean,
this,
this is
it's,
tough
yeah,
work, so
yeah,
thank you for taking it on.
it's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Well,
Now before the HFA board, a resolution is transmitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
aye.
Motion is carried, the resolution is adopted.
Great, thank you. Item 18, Wallace Campus, City of Poughkeepsie, Dutchess County. And for this item, Russell Ubley, Vice President, Multifamily Finance and Development, Terrence Sang, Assistant Vice President, Multifamily Finance and Development, and Michael Friedman, Senior VP Mortgage Insurance Fund, will present this item.
Good afternoon, actually.
Good afternoon.
Charles is in China, so I'll be presenting.
Okay.
All of that. Well, hopefully he'll be coming back.
Affordable housing?
Comps.
So Wallace Campus, which you may have, was regarded to in Madeline's presentation because she was presenting a project that's adjacent nearby. Wallace Campus is an HFA bond 4% proposal. It's an adaptive reuse and new construction of 187 units in the downtown city of Poughkeepsie. It involves the demolition of 3 long-standing vacant commercial buildings and the historic preservation of one of the buildings called the Wallace Department Store. That was originally built in 1875. It's an historic landmark which will qualify it for historic tax credits. Once completed, the project will result in 3 total residential buildings, including the department store that'll be revitalized, totaling 187 affordable units, including a supers unit, households with incomes between 30% and 80% of the AMI for Dutchess County. 30 of those units will be designated as supportive housing for formerly homeless individuals with severe mental illness and/or substance use disorder. The adaptive reuse building, again, was the former location of the Wallace Department Store, which closed its doors in the 1970s. Since then, the 4-story building has served as underutilized commercial space until the project development team purchased the property for redevelopment in 2021. The development team is a partnership between Mega Development and Amy Lariviere, who's now has a firm known as Ematrine Group. Each of them with over 25 years of experience, successful affordable housing builders and developers with the agency throughout New York. Once completed, this project will result in 3 residential buildings with ground floor retail space. The project plans also includes semi-public green space with some landscaping, parking area, children play areas, and outdoor seating to increase the foot traffic and walkability of the commercial area. It's basically part of a rezoning downtown revitalization efforts for the city of Poughkeepsie. For a long time, they've been trying to do a lot to revitalize the downtown Main Street area. This is a complement to that process. The former department store will be transformed to residential use with storefront retail on the ground floor. That'll have 69 residential units. The 2 new buildings that'll be constructed next door will be 5 stories tall, each with ground floor retail space. One of the buildings will have another 69 units, and then the 3rd building with 49 units. A mix of studios, 1 bedrooms, and 2 bedrooms and 3 bedrooms to accommodate the market for families and the supportive housing population. Energy efficient features will include geothermal heating, solar panels, Energy Star appliances, low flow plumbing fixtures, energy efficient lighting, what we typically see on these types of new construction energy efficiency mandates. Residents will have access to 24/7 security, dedicated spaces for kids playroom and a social hall for events, fitness center, laundry room, co-working space. The property will be managed by Cornell Pace, which is a full service provider with close to about 2,500 units of affordable housing in their portfolio. Supportive housing services will be provided by the Mental Health America of Dutchess County, which is a local nonprofit that provides on-site case management and services geared to promote healthy living, financial stability, and independent life skills. The agency hasn't done a 4% bond project in Dutchess County in recent history, so this is a great opportunity to cover an area that we haven't really had a lot of involvement in. Also to be able to utilize underutilized vacant buildings into affordable and supportive housing. And lastly, the project fully expects to meet its MWBE and SDVOB goals, which total about 36% of the total financing that's going into the project. Thank you.
Thanks, Russell. Michael, do you have anything to add?
Just that the project has a pro forma income to expense ratio of 113 to 1, which is well in excess of our minimum requirement of 105 to 1, and a pro forma debt service coverage ratio of 1.6 to 1.
Could it carry more debt then, as opposed to subsidy?
It's a balance. I think having a little cushion is probably a healthy thing, considering there is a lot of sources going into the project. So,
Agreed.
Questions?
Yeah, so all of the power for this project is either geothermal or solar?
It'll be electric, yeah, fully electric, yeah.
The source of it is geothermal and solar.
Right.
And just one minor question, what is the semi-public space?
Semi-public space, so That's a good question. So
At least one shoe.
yeah.
Sorry, just caught my.
So a portion of the area which will be kind of near to the downtown district is public, but then there'll also be an area that's private. That's really just for residents. So there's sort of be a demarcation, but it's part of the community.
Not that the space itself is semi-public, just part of it is
Part of it.
designated as one, part of it is designated.
Right, exactly.
Like a courtyard.
Right, a better way to put it, yeah.
These are individuals with substance abuse under the severe illness.
The supportive component, yeah, the 30
Supportive.
units that are being covered by our supportive services, yeah.
Okay. The supported services are going to be on site or off site? Like it's a rehab area, or they're going to do that off site?
There's on-site, there's on-site supportive services offices. I forget which building is going to contain the offices, but they'll be on-site.
Okay. And it's going to be open to families also, their families and the individuals?
That's correct, yeah. That's why there's going to be a mix of studios and 1 to 2 to 3 bedrooms to accommodate families if needed.
Right, and veterans.
And veterans.
Okay.
I would say, given that they're using an AMI that accounts the family size at Kiryas
That's just like the MSA, yeah, included, that's what it's called, right? It's the Newburgh.
Yeah, it
Curious
encompasses,
MSA,
you have to.
that's the name.
yeah, it's a metropolitan statistical area that they designate these
It
income
doesn't
limits
mean that
for.
it's
Part of, or.
aimed at a particular population.
It's just the name of the MSA, yeah.
Yeah, like the New York City MSA encompasses New Jersey as well as like Rockland, you know.
Familiar with that
Yeah.
problem.
Yeah.
How to work with that myself.
Yeah.
Do we know how much retail space is going to be provided? How many units that is?
Yeah, each building is going to have its own retail space. I think I have the square footage in each one. The department store that's being rehabilitated is going to have a larger space. I forget exactly what the
There's
square footage is.
25,000 square feet of commercial space.
Yeah, so it's fairly huge.
Altogether.
So it's kind of like a TOD setup, retail space on the bottom, housing on top.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, for each of the buildings, yeah.
It's a very interesting combination of financing here.
Right.
Very complex.
Yeah.
Is anyone,
Congratulated on putting it together.
is anyone working with the contractor and the individual that's purchasing the building to fill out the retail space? Because there's been quite a bit of issue with TODs actually not filling their retail spaces. Like I was talking to Russell the day before yesterday in the wine dance area, and like more than 50% of theirs is still vacant. And the one in Quorum is about 90% vacant.
I don't believe they've identified as of yet who the retail space would be leased to for each of the properties. But yeah, it's obviously something that they have to work towards. I mean, there's a period of about 3 years of construction before lease up, so there's still some time to hopefully work that through. And we don't really account for the retail income when we're underwriting for the project, so it shouldn't affect the ability for the residential project portion to survive. But it's a good question on the retail space. It's a challenge.
Yeah, the pro forma retail income is less than 3%
Less than
of the
3?
total income.
Okay. Because the only issue is like during COVID, a lot of them that had that retail space had stopped paying their rents and stuff. So that put a lot of the owners in a hole in a lot of areas that were counting on that additional income.
Yeah, here, the pro forma cash flow is 315,000, and the commercial income is 83,000.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
So it more than breaks even with all the commercial space vacant.
Okay.
And this
So that
is
one.
a new TOD.
Right.
It's an established commercial corridor.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's a lot of foot traffic and a lot of people in Poughkeepsie already.
Right.
It is a valid question because vacant retail is never healthy for a building, but the economics are okay on this one. But I think in some of the Long Island TOD, it's newer.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where I've seen anyway that it's struggled, where there isn't already an existing robust commercial corridor.
Right.
But we have one here, so it's probably has a pretty good chance. And it'll be brand new space, which is always more appealing, although sometimes more expensive, so.
Right.
How closely do we coordinate with, for example, like on obviously helping support them find a tenant, like small, I mean, is it a question of like, hey, like you can't fill this, and we're like, let's go out to every nonprofit in the area and say, do you want to get a very discounted space to move in here? So it's, I mean, are we working, like, do we have a record of like overall vacancy rates among our commercial tenants? And like, are we thinking about strategies of filling them if it is something that's an ongoing issue?
It's not an ongoing.
It isn't, okay.
And again, like we purposely underwrite to minimize the effect of retail
Right.
income.
I'm just saying
on
if it's
our-
empty,
yeah.
it's usable space and we have community groups that like could use it, like, anyways.
I think most of these smaller cities are all over that issue.
Okay, fair
You know,
enough.
they have a local, like, business improvement district or something that's trying to help support the retail. That's really their on-the-ground job.
There was a project in Queens in Jamaica that for many years had struggled to find retail space. They did ask us to see if we could help reach out. I'm not sure what, I think eventually they did find something, but it was surprisingly an issue in Jamaica, Queens for about 3 or 4 years. They even suggested a cannabis dispensary, which we said was not a good idea for supportive housing population.
Right, we gotta move forward. Well,
This item is before the HFA, the SONYMA, and the HTFC boards. Is also before the HFA Finance and Program Committee, and the resolution is before the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee. Excuse me, actually, it's just before the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee and not before the full SONYMA board. Now before those bodies, HFA, HTFC, the HFA Finance and Program Committee, and the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee. Resolutions that were submitted in connection with this item. Assuming the motion is second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye. The motion is carried, the resolution is adopted.
Great.
I just wanted to add something though, just in terms of perspective, because when we first started doing large affordable housing rehab, we were not putting in commercial or retail space. And that in itself was a big problem because it meant that people, tenants who were moving in, the idea of putting in retail space is that hopefully you'll be able to attract some sort of establishment that will make their lives easier. You know, so they don't have to travel as far to do their grocery shopping or whatever. You know. And we weren't doing that, and we learned a lesson from not doing it.
Yeah. Okay, we gotta move on. Item 19, concern Inwood Apartments, City of New York, Bronx County. And Russell and Michael will present again.
Okay, thank you. This project will be constructed at 1320 Inwood Avenue at the corner of West Clark Place in the Mount Eden section of the Bronx. It's nearby the number 4 and the D trains, nearby local express bus routes, and within near area to public schools, parks, and community centers. Healthcare access is nearby, supported by the Bronx Care Health System and NYC Lincoln Health and Hospitals. The project is being developed as new construction for supportive housing in the Jerome area, Avenue rezoning area, which was approved by the New York City Planning Commission back in 2018, along with the New York City mandatory inclusionary housing requirement. So this is part of a long-standing rezoning initiative that the city has put in. The project will have about 210 total units, including a supers unit. 125 of those units will be permanent supportive units. All 210 units will be set aside for households between 50 and 60% of the New York City AMI. Of those 125 supportive units, 74 of them will be supported through the ESHI program. 51 units will be funded through the Office of Mental Health's SPSRO program. The remaining 85 units will be set aside for low-income families. Supportive housing units will serve homeless adults, including those with disabilities. Residents in those units will receive on-site services, including case management, mental health coordination, benefits advocacy, and other support provided by Concern Housing. Concern is also the owner and developer of the project. Concern is a nonprofit stalwart in this field. They have successfully completed and operate similar affordable housing and supportive housing properties throughout the New York City area. The building will be designed to meet HCR design guidelines for new construction. It'll be all electric, 2020 Enterprise Green Communities, Energy Passive House Institute US certification. The structure will be built using energy efficient materials in compliance with Passive House standards. Again, fully electric. There will be a gas powered emergency generator, but otherwise it's a fully electric building. There will be a rear yard to provide outdoor recreational space for residents. The 11th floor terrace will have a green roof and community gardening area. Energy efficiency and climate resiliency measures will be in place, including recovery ventilation to improve air quality, variable refrigerant flow, heat pumps for heating and cooling, and then a PV solar panel system on the roof to offset the utility costs. Low flow plumbing, all these stuff that we typically see with our new construction requirements on energy efficiency, including electric vehicle charge stations, which can charge 2 cars at once. Concern Inwood is leveraging agency financing with funding from the New York State Office of Mental Health in form of capital funding during construction. The Office of Mental Health also pays a portion of the first mortgage debt service, which is a really nice way to keep the revenue intact. Property and operating subsidy for the supportive units. And there's also a program development grant from the Office of Temporary and Disability Assistance. And lastly, the project expects to meet its MWBE and SDVOB goals, which in New York City totals about 38% of the total amount of funding that we're putting into the project as a permanent source. Thank you.
Michael?
This project has a total development cost of $675,000 per unit, which is very efficient for construction in the Bronx. So they're doing a really good job in building it. It has a pro forma income to expense ratio of 107 to 1 and a pro forma debt service coverage ratio of 115 to 1. It would break even with a 15% pro forma vacancy rate or a 13% increase in operating expenses. So I think it's conservatively underwritten.
Great, thank you.
I just wanted
Sadie?
to comment, underscoring what Mike said. It's remarkable to see the cost so low, particularly in the Bronx.
Yeah.
And just a note that, you know, there's such a difference from project to project and that all in per unit. And I think we'll talk more about this, Ruthann, in the future, but really looking at that and finding out why I think is really important so that we can use those lessons learned and try to keep costs down across the board. The other thing I just want to mention, Ruthann, is, you know, whatever it was 5-6 years ago, we talked about transitioning to where these projects would be all electric. There was so much pushback, and yet here we are. And it's remarkable to see all of these deals get built to this standard routinely now, and it's just become business as usual. So congratulations to you, Ruthann, because it was your vision that got us here, and I really deeply respect and I'm grateful for that.
Very nice.
It's great. It's
Yeah.
great actually in some of the buildings you go to where they talk about the utility expenses per unit and it's like 50. I mean, I think some of the like geothermals are like $50 a unit a month people have to pay for heating and cooling. I mean, it's really like affordable. Yeah. I mean, not all buildings, but I think ones where they can do a lot of energy measures, it really drives down the monthly
Joyce?
cost.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna comment that the passive building features are really interesting. And we should think about where else we can incorporate that. I mean, I assume we all do. Also, the concept of an electric vehicle charging station is very forward-thinking, very optimistic.
Yeah. Russell, I noticed that the contractor on Wallace is the same as the contractor on Concern Inwood. Is there an issue around capacity?
Not with Mega. Mega's a really full, robust contractor, and they're only serving as the general contractor for the Bronx project. So just doing the construction, whereas the developer arm is handling Wallace.
Okay.
So.
Who is the principal?
Hercules. I forget his last name.
Yeah.
It's not metaphoric either. It's a real guy.
Hercules is taking care of this.
Okay. Other questions? Will?
Okay, this item is before the HFA and the SONYMA boards, in addition to the HFA Finance and Program Committee and the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee. Before those bodies, a resolution is transmitted in connection with the item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried, the resolution is adopted.
Great, thank you. Item 2097 Central Avenue, Albany, Albany County, SPPLP, and Burke Blackman and Michael Friedman will present the item. Thanks, Russell.
This project comprises the historic.
Why don't we'll let Burke say it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, Mike, you want me to take the lead on the project overview? I'm happy to.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
great. So this is a request for just over $7.3 million in small building program funds to undertake the adaptive reuse of the historic Selfridge and Langford building on Central Avenue in Albany. The building was originally constructed in 1911 as a furniture warehouse, and showroom, and was most recently used as office space. It's been vacant since 2021. It will now be converted into a fully electric mixed-use building with 49 apartments, 3,900 square feet of ground floor commercial space, and 75 off-street parking spaces. There's also 4,400 square feet of basement level potential commercial storage space, but the market for that space is really unknown and therefore has been excluded from the underwriting. The residential units will be affordable at no more than 80% AMI and set aside for households earning up to 90% AMI. The project is well located near Albany's downtown core. It's just a few blocks from Washington Park and a short walk from shopping and dining on Lark Street. CDTA bus service is available along Central Avenue and connects to downtown out to the town of Colony. The developer here is MLB. They're a large Albany area-based construction firm that has recently expanded into multifamily development. So a large firm, been around 75 years, and worked on large institutional projects and some residential, but is just now really expanding their development arm. They're newer to the agency, but they are a co-developer on an AHOP homeownership project in Schenectady that's progressing through construction and home sale. The project financing here includes a construction and permanent loan from CPC. The perm loan of $5.3 million will be SONYMA insured. There's approximately $4.2 million in historic tax credit equity syndicated by Foss & Company and owner equity and deferred fee. The project will also use a 45A partial tax exemption for the conversion of commercial property into mixed use, which will save the project approximately $625,000 in taxes over 12 years. So in summary, the project will reactivate a key vacant historic property near Albany's downtown core, adding affordable units and potential retail use in really a desirable area, and happy to recommend it for funding. And Mike, for any additional SONYMA color you'd like to add.
Thanks, Bert.
Yeah, thanks. So the project has a loan to value ratio of 67%, but a liability to value ratio of only 50%. And that's because we're providing 75% insurance rather than 100%. The MIF has statutory authority to provide 100% insurance on loans purchased by public employee pension funds. In this case, the loan will be held by CPC, which will in turn sell 100% participation to the Methodist Pension Fund. But we will not be insuring the Methodist Pension Fund. We'll be insuring CPC.
Great. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I think look at 370 a unit is a pretty exceptional what we've seen, but also with the office building conversion, obviously there's complexities around that too. So just like maybe be interesting to learn as we go through this project. I mean, this is a thin budget for something like this, just to obviously monitor it, but also to see if there's lessons learned on office building conversions, especially like mid-sized buildings like this going forward. So, yeah.
It is interesting that we talk about adaptive reuse and everyone talks about office conversions being so hard, and yet we do so many of them, just sort of routinely in the work that we do upstate, but.
Yeah. It's actually originally a store and a warehouse, which makes it even more complex.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll note for the record, Ms. McCune has recused herself from this vote. This is before the HFA and the HFA board and the SONYMA Mortgage Insurance Committee only. Resolutions transmitted in connection with the item. Assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Good.
The motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you.
Great.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks, Mike. Okay, next item, we're going to go out of order. We're going to do item 32 next, which is series resolution and issuance of bonds. Mark Price, Director of Capital Markets, will present this item.
And just to be clear for the members, this was on the supplemental materials that were circulated a couple days ago.
Great. Thank you. Mark?
Thank you very much. Good afternoon. So to issue bonds to fund our SONYMA programs, we go through 3 different authorizations. One is statutory, and that is on a biennial basis, and that happened earlier this year. And then the other 2 are this board authorization for amounts that we do throughout the course of the year, and then PACB. But PACB only acts after this board acts, and so this is what we're bringing to this board today. In consultation with our computational analytical consultants, we have projected out sort of a max amount of bond issuance that we might do over the next year. It is it has a lot of room in it for anything that might change. The big thing that could change is we see a precipitous drop in rates, and then all of a sudden we can do a bunch of refinancings of outstanding debt for debt service savings. And so the total amount that we are asking for authorization is 1.6 billion. That 1.6 billion is broken down into approximately 900 million for refundings or economic refinancings. Those will only materialize if rates go down substantially. They may not. So we're just providing for that eventuality. And then 700 million for new money. Just to give you a sense, we've been doing around 400 million in new money annually. 700 million gives us a good buffer in case we see loan production go up by a good amount. Happy to take any questions.
Thank you, Mark. Questions?
I guess the question mark in all of this, of course, is what we are going to see coming out of the federal administration, the Trump administration. I know it's not particularly useful to say, can you guess what Trump and his colleagues will be doing with respect to the finance? But how do you, or can you in some way take that into consideration now that we're looking at some very unpredictable times?
Yes. Yeah, I
sit here with the government on the shelf for the last 10 days, but much more, much deeper activities are being projected at this point.
Certainly, and I think you said it best. It is definitely uncertain. We did see a very big win in HR 1 and the tax bill that was passed earlier this summer, which sort of provided for a more liberal test, but this is on the multifamily side, so it impacts the bonds that HFA will be issuing. There was an avoidance of tax exemption being diminished in any way, which was really important from both SONYMA and HFA's perspective. And so anything else that may happen not only at the federal level, but also state level away from these agencies, it's hard to predict.
I actually think it's pretty telling that everyone's resources went down, and all of a sudden affordable housing's volume cap number, the 50% test gets. I mean, it shows you the strength of the affordable housing lobby in Washington and the voice of NCSHA, I think, in being very reasonable about what these resources mean to communities, and not just in New York. I mean, these are resources that matter in every single state in the union. So I think,
but it's not for no reason. I mean, the demand is off the charts. So
exactly.
It's a screaming need.
Yes. So it could have been addressed with more resources to solve this, but that'd be too rash.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, this item is before the SONYMA Board and the SONYMA Finance and Program Committee, as it involves the issuance of bonds by SONYMA. Resolutions transmitted in connection with the item, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. The motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mark. Okay, the next 4 items are consent items. There will be no presentation unless requested. The materials are in the board package. So I think I know there's some recusals, but I think we'll handle them together. All 4?
Yeah. Yep. So the note for the record that the chairman is recusing himself from the vote on items 21, 23, and 24, and Ms. Young-Watkins is recusing herself from the vote on item 21. Now, before the HFA and the HTFC boards, respectively, are items 21, 22, 23, and 24. resolutions transmitted in connection with these items, assuming the motion and second previously recorded. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
The motion is carried. The resolution is adopted.
Okay, thank you. Next item 25, Department of Empowerment, Compliance and Opportunity update, and also ESD presentation. So today, Chino Okonkwo, thank you, Vice President Deco, and Jason Clark, a guest today. Welcome, Jason, who's the Executive Vice President, Division of Minority and Women's Business Development from ESD. Thank you both.
Welcome, both of you. Hi, Jason. Good to see you.
Good afternoon.
Thank you.
Chair, Commissioner, and members of the board.
Thank you.
This month, we're pleased to welcome Jason Clark, Executive Vice President of Empire State Development's Division of Minority and Women Business Development. Who will provide a statewide perspective on MWBE certification, participation, and policy initiatives. As you know, expanding MWBE and SDVOB access and participation is central to DECO's work, and a priority this board has raised thoughtfully and consistently. One of the most important things we can do is clarify how the system works statewide so that we're aligned in roles and impact. Here's the way I kind of think about it. ESD serves as the architect as the statewide MWBE program. They design the blueprint, setting statewide policy, certifying MWBEs, and establishing participation goals across the agencies. HCR, through DECO, we serve as the builder. We take the blueprint and implement it within the housing and community development space. Our responsibility is to create and expand opportunities for certified firms and to in our programs and projects, bringing the statewide vision to life on the ground. Last month, our team leaned into this role through intentional stakeholder engagement. We attended the New York State Association for Affordable Housing, NYSAFA conference in Rochester, and ESD's Expo for Queens and Long Island at CUNY York College, where I met Jason and his team, which was really great my week before. We're at HCR, we showcase our MWBE and SDVOB opportunities and deepen partnerships with developers, contractors, and community stakeholders. These events are critical as these events serve as critical touch points and help us expand our pipeline and align HCR's work with the broader statewide strategy. So looking ahead, some of the things that we have on the horizon is our attendance at the Buffalo Niagara MWBE Training Conference, as well as the City and State's Diversity Procurement Summit that's happening in November. Through these engagements, we're expanding our reach across regions and industries, strengthening pipelines, and for MWBE and SDVOB firms to engage with housing, community development opportunities, and ensuring alignment with statewide priorities. And with this, since ESD holds the architect blueprint, it's only fitting to turn the floor over to Jason, who will talk us through the statewide strategy.
Great. Well, thank you very much for that, Sheena. And I see a lot of familiar faces. In fact, I think this is my third one. Thank you. Thank you very much. I usually like to start with certification just because as many times as I talk about certification, I am always amazed how many folks don't know some of the changes or updates that have happened with certification. So first of all, let me start by this. First of all, obviously, I'm the Executive Vice President over at the New York State Division of Minority and Women Business Development. And our whole purpose is to make sure that we're doing everything we can to be able to comply with the requirements that are set forth in Executive Law 15A, which is how do we make sure that we're promoting minority and women businesses so that we can be able to even the playing field. As many of you very likely know, the governor has set a goal of 30% of subcontracting opportunities going to minority and women businesses. And I think that as a division, as ESD and the governor is very proud that over the last 4 years we've been able to meet those goals for the first time that's there. In fact, in 2024 and 2023, we had the highest and second highest minority and women business participation rate in the 37-year history of the program that's there. And what that's led to in dollars is nearly $12 billion in actual spend and payments going to minority and women businesses. So not just awards, but actual dollars that were dispersed to businesses that have participated in some of these contracts out there.
Jason, does that when did you start at ESD?
So I started in 2023.
Interesting.
2023. Well, very kind, very kind. But we had some very good folks, on the team, and very good folks who have joined the team, excluding myself, since then as well. I'll say, so kind of pivoting back to certification, as I think many of you know from talks about before, at the very beginning, there was a very large backlog that we had of 3,000, and I will never not know this number, 3,720 applications that were waiting for a final determination on their application. And the first thing that we did is work on being able to eliminate that backlog, because to us, and I think core to probably what some of these conversations are about, is we need to make sure that we're expanding the availability of minority and women businesses to be able to work on these contracts at AHC. And we could do expos like we just did last week. We can do as many events as we can, but it's going to take someone 499 days, which is the average amount of time it took for a business to get certified in 2021. Then I'm not sure we're really being true to the mission that we have here. So as a result of that, we've eliminated the backlog. We're telling folks on average 90 to 120 days, because not every business is the same, so some require a little bit more time. But last year, on average, it took less than 65 days for an application to be receive a final determination. So that goes from 2 years at one point to just over 2 months that's there. And as a result of that, since 2023, we have certified and recertified over 5,057 businesses since then. And one of the things that we had just started, as early as this month, is we're developing a new certification platform out there that we think will also assist with being able to streamline the process, be able to encourage more MWBs to participate, will assist with the public directory component of it. So we're continuing to do a lot there as well. I'll also say that for us, a big part goes hand in hand with this is the outreach component. I mentioned before, just a minute ago, about the over 5,000 businesses that have been certified or recertified in these last 2 years. And part of that is because in the past, I think there's only one outreach event that we would do annually where there was at least one certified certification analyst expert that was on staff who could assist people with their application. Since 2024, we've done 90 since there, with probably one of the most recent ones, the expo that we did last week. We had 485 folks, MWBEs, register to participate, largely and predominantly in the Queens and Long Island regions that were there. We've also, in the last few expos that we had, our New York City one, our Syracuse one, this one as well, we've instituted matchmaking. I will also give a little bit of hat tip to your predecessor. I know Carrie had always talked about the importance of being able to have some of those one-on-one conversations to almost more nudge MWBEs to come and talk and specifically talk about their work with someone, as opposed to kind of passively walking through and talking to exhibitors. And in this last one that we had 165 participants. We had 195, I think, in our last one, and somewhere around that in our New York City one. And these have all started since June, but one of the things that we're also doing is tracking those who participate in those so that we can see if that leads to actual contract opportunities. And we're not just having our agencies and authorities, as much as we love all of you there, but also making sure many general contractors, many primes are there, so that the ones who specifically have the contract opportunities, the ones that we talk about, telling them that especially for some of our underutilized MWBs, to come prepared with, the multi-mega billion-dollar contracts are great, but let's also talk about some of these smaller contracts that give you an opportunity to get started and get your first contract that's there. So in addition to that, I'll just quickly say that during the state budget negotiations, there are a couple of things that came out of that. First, we're able to increase the discretionary threshold for MWBEs from $750,000 to $1.5 million. That's there. Second is that we're also commissioning a policy study, which is going to analyze the results of the disparity study that we had published last year. And the purpose there is to really be able to go through the data and be able to provide recommendations or what can be done to, eliminate the quote unquote disparity within the disparity. How can we do a better job of using discretionary to have an on-ramp for businesses to participate? How can we do more to find solutions to prompt payment and all these things that we see deal with many of our small businesses, but disproportionately seem to impact our minority and women businesses. So between a couple of projects that we are working on that we're hoping to announce very soon to further encourage primes to be motivated to work with businesses that they have not worked with in the past. Those are a few of the things that we have been working on since last time and over the last 2 years.
Thank you. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, Chino. I just have a question in terms of I understand the process for getting certified, but there are instances where the agency is out to procure, follows the process, and there's one item that we approved today, actually, the forensic accounting. We had 7 MWBE solicitations, and we received 0 bids. And I'm wondering, is there a level of communication between the agencies that could even sort of pinpoint where our needs may be to try to identify where we could be filling opportunities?
It's interesting that you say that because last week was my first time at one of the expos and I was meeting with Brendan, kind of talking about some of the struggles that we have faced and some of the core areas where we have business that we need to execute, but we don't have the MWBEs in order to provide that. So he offered some strategies, but I think that with Jason and myself joining, we'll be looking at that more deeply. I was talking to Ruth Ann earlier today about our F&D portfolio and been working closely with Alexa. So really looking at what are the needs that we have internally within our agency and how can I work with Jason so that he can start.
Where are the opportunities?
We have the opportunities, but how can he start, scanning the whole community to say like, okay, this is the services that we need. Let's get you certified. You may be doing this. Let's get you certified. So really kind of scanning that. So I think creating those bridges are really critical.
Yeah, and I think what I would add to that, so Brendan Reagan, he is our Director of Contract Participation. Over this last year, we created a new unit called our Utilization Unit, which is all about how do we expand the actual opportunities that are going to minority and women businesses that's there. And we also brought on someone as our executive advisor on MWBs and small businesses to help with kind of individualized issues that we see to figure out ways to be able to assist in that sense. So I think a lot of what we're trying to lean into now is how do we increase the availability and how do we get that cohort of available folks who are able to do the work in the room with the ones who have the contract opportunity. So again, when I was saying the matchmaking, that was one of like our first entrees to being able to do that. So in theory, someone could come by, let's say with that, say we have these contract opportunities that are coming up. And for the folks who register, we'll be able to say, oh, these are all folks who do, I don't know, sheetrock, or these are all electricians over there. And then be able to specifically match them out there so that we can kind of, lead to some of those. Yes, ma'am.
Does your database allows that kind of fine tuning?
Yes, we do. I will say our database is one of the things that are on the list that we will going to be improving on now as part of this system that's there, because I will say it's not always the easiest thing for someone to be able to navigate there. But yes, on our team as well as with the different agencies and authorities should be able to go through, be able to say these are the individuals who are MWBEs. This is what they've identified as their particular work that's there. Obviously, if you want to get into nitty gritty, if you're familiar with NIC codes that are there, you'll be able to identify what NIC codes that particular business is. So part of the good faith efforts that we're expecting primes and we're expecting our agencies and authorities to assist with is being able to make sure that for those particular contract opportunities, have those folks made those good faith efforts to reach out on the directory that have here to see if there are individuals within that region who do that work, who are available, and has there been some reach out that's happened.
I'm sorry.
Yeah, please.
I just wanted to ask quickly, I know recertification had been an issue as well, and there were delays, and that always felt very frustrating because you didn't change, and so how is it that you need to be recertified? Have you addressed that?
Yeah, so recertification is an interesting. So when I say that on average 70, that's certification as well as recertification that's there. And you're right, there are many businesses that things haven't changed. There are many businesses who think nothing has changed, and you actually look at the materials and they have changed a little bit, that's there, which is why we kind of have to review it. Also not being, obtuse to, what's going on at the federal level. I know for me, one of the things that's been very important as we've been reviewing the certification evaluation is happening is making sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure our program is narrowly tailored. That means going through, there may be businesses that were certified at one point, but we have to ask all the questions that are required by 15A and by our regs Title V now to make sure that they meet those requirements that are there. And what I'll also say is even though we are being strict with that component of it, we are trying to make our process as amenable as possible. So for example, we realize that some folks, they may not just put the information that we need to be able to show that they meet the competency requirements that are here. So what we started doing is implementing an interview component out of it so that we can ask questions and you could be able to answer it and you can be able to do some of those things. So we are being very strict. And I'll also say that obviously as some of these, especially Title V or 15A things change, that may modify a decision if a business is completely the same, but the actual regulations that we're responsible for enforcing have changed. That's there, but we do try to do everything we can to make sure the process is streamlined as for as many folks as possible.
Thank you.
Yep.
Yeah. This is thank you for the presentation, first of all. I appreciate that. As I'm listening to it, I'm saying this is, a set of expressions like deja vu all over again. I first started getting involved with minority business development here with the state of New York. Oh gosh, this is, 43 years ago.
Okay.
Okay, and the first statewide program was one that I was asked to head up by then Governor Carey. So it goes back that far. And as I'm looking at what has developed over the years, some of the same situations are in place today. For example, when we're looking at the whole notion of minority women business enterprise, typically minority women wind up in the M part of it and white women are in the W part of it, which is fine, except that that kind of skews the numbers as we go forward. We see a major female developer out at LaGuardia and Kennedy airports, for example. She comes from Georgia, okay? So is it possible that, there's business women here in New York that don't have access to, the skills or the opportunities, but that someone in Georgia would? And the answer is obviously the case is that, that the woman from Georgia is going to have a better shot than someone from here in New York. When we're looking at the minority numbers that are being put up, of course, it's not just black men and women anymore. Of course, it's Asian men as well, and people from our Indian community, and sometimes our Latino community, but I'm talking about from the Asian community as well, are doing quite well, as opposed to what we see with respect to the black and Latino people. So the point I guess I wanted to get across is that I don't want to wish you luck, because that and 25 cents won't even get you on the subway these days, but I would just ask that you really look at the history, number one, and look at how it can be done differently, because we really shouldn't in 2025 be saying that, well, people need to find a way that they can be a sub on a deal because there aren't enough people around who can be the primary folks on these operations. But it's true. Right now, that's the case, and so New York is way behind. Again, places that, Ohio or Illinois or California. So what is it that's different about New York is one of the things I would suggest that you want to take a good look at, that has this disparity in place. And as I said, we went through a range of transactions just today, and the number where you have a black male or black female involved as the primary contractor, I don't know, maybe we had one or two, I don't know, not a lot. That's for sure, and certainly not a lot for 2025, and not a lot for the commitment that exists from the legislature, from the governor, and from everybody else that thinks it's a great thing to do, but it's not happening. Okay, and I know that just as a board member, our ability to be of assistance is limited, but it's real. Okay, and I know when you first came on board, just 2 years ago now, right, that I indicated I'm available. I'm still available, right? And hopefully for a few more years, but we don't have to wait a few more years, because if you give me a call and there's no technicalities on this stuff. It's things that people have seen that obviously you want to incorporate as you go forward. Right? So there's no need in that. So I just would ask you to keep in mind just those. It's not even statistics, but just trends that I've mentioned going back 40 years, for goodness sake. Yeah. Okay, and here we are still kind of, battling those same situations, and we can't keep doing that and expect to keep doing the same thing over and over and wondering why it hasn't changed. We have to take a good look at that.
Yeah, no, I'd absolutely agree with a lot. And first, I'll start by saying I was a history major in college, so I am always very interested in conversation and seeing how things have progressed and what has worked and what hasn't worked in there. So I would love to have a conversation and hear more about where we were and some of the things that you've seen and how they've maybe dealt with some of those challenges.
Well, you have my contact details, so
Sounds good. Okay.
I don't know what else to say.
The second thing I'll say is, you're absolutely right when you talk about especially let's say if we're talking about the minority component, let's say of the 30%. A lot of times that's disaggregated with 15% for women businesses and 15% for all minority businesses there. And if you look at the number of African American, especially that are getting these contracts, those numbers tend, to be very, very low there. I will say one of the reasons I started before about the aggressive outreach that we've been doing there is that we need to figure out ways to get people certified. That's right. I was even talking actually with Dina outside right before this. We both worked, we overlapped when we were at the New York State Attorney General's office, and she was telling me about some minority entrepreneurs or developers who she thinks would absolutely meet the qualification for certification, but getting them actually to get certified, that's there. And that's been a challenge. I think it's one of the reasons why, for example, the event we did last week, I'm just using it as an example because that's so close. So literally in Southeast Queens, which is a predominantly Black community that's there. I'll also say is that we created a couple of months ago a second chance program, because what we also noticed is that there are many folks who start the application and they get asked certain questions or there's other information that needs to be provided, and for whatever reason, it doesn't happen, or they, something else that may be paying, requires their time. So what we did is figure out ways that we can be able to reactivate a lot of those applications so that people can reapply. And the reason why I bring that up too is that while that is, for example, a program that is open to anyone, who was originally rejected because they of failure to be able to provide information, there's a disproportionate number of African American applicants that are in the rejection pile versus others that are out there. And two other quick things I'll just say is, one is, there's absolutely a lot that we need to do. I will say that the state's program and the amount of utilization that we have here, often, I would have to look specifically about Ohio, I don't know off the top of my head, but it often dwarfs what we see in other states that are out there. So there has been a lot of good work, but that doesn't mean that we're meeting our potential by a long shot that's there. There was a group of actually African-American developers that I had a meeting with about 2 or 3 weeks ago. And a lot of them actually had a very strong interest in figuring out ways that they can get more involved with what's going on with HCR that's there. And I'm hoping that from some of this outreach that we're doing that leads to those second sets of conversations, many of these folks who told me directly they would be very interested in being able to figure out how they can engage more with HCR and what some of their challenges are. I think that part of it is being able to identify the ones who are able and ready to work on these contracts, getting them certified, and then getting in front of you so that they're in a better position to work on these. So it's a process, it's long, but I'm hoping that by the time we have this conversation next year, we'll have some, even more positive results, especially in those within the disparity areas.
Thank you both.
One of the questions that came up that the chairman was alluding to was something that came up in July. With 4,489 new certifications over the last 2 years, and the utilization portion of it, is there a breakdown of individuals with MBEs, MWBEs, as far as their categories of what they're bringing to the table in their respective areas, so that DECA would be able to identify which companies could be used for certain areas? Because, as you know, Suffolk County already has a breakdown as far as if someone doesn't meet the requirements or whatever, they have to go out to an MWB, MBE. If they can't find anyone, they have to put in a form that says that they looked in this particular area, went through the list, couldn't find anyone, and then they're given a waiver. We don't necessarily have that here. So of the 4,489 that were recertified, how many of them can we actually use, and has that utilization already been broken out?
Okay. I think I can answer part of that. So the data that we have is all, I'll start with this, is spend data versus award data. And I think that's very important to be able to identify, because we don't see all of the state contracts, that are out there. What we have access to is the award information that actually happened from each of the agencies and authorities that are there. So we're always working with that component that's there. Within our directory, it does say, and you can search where it says, this business says that they're a minority or women-owned business. Now, I think this kind of goes a little bit to Dr. Ford's point that if you get a contract and you are identified, let's say in the WB category, you wouldn't be double characterized in the MB category. So we wouldn't be able to tell that information, but we can see what happened after. So I think I'm getting to your answer, which is that we can absolutely be able to look at who is certified, what type of work they have in their narrative stating, what the keywords of what they do, what NIC codes that they have. And what I'm also, and I'd actually actively say if there's any feedback that you have with this new system that we're working on now, which since it's I want to say when it'll be live, but we're expecting it live in 2026 in a new directory. If there are certain things that we also think would be helpful in making it more impactful, we're literally going through the vision boarding component now. So that's stuff we can be able to look in, so that maybe it's easier that when our authorities and agencies are getting that information and they know how to target their good faith efforts, that they can be able to identify who does this work in what region. And last thing I'll say there too is that we are working on piloting a program which would focus on encouraging primes to work with underutilized firms. And I think that the reason that that's important is that when you look at this overall spend of MWBEs in each year, there is a certain number of businesses that are responsible for the large majority of the utilization that's there. If we want to figure out ways to democratize the program where folks who historically have not gotten those access to contracts to be able to do so, they have to be able to get that first one that's there. So I'm hoping between some of those things and some of this information that's in the directory and all the partnerships that we have here, that we can figure out a way to get more MWBEs started in getting these contracts so that they can be able to expand and then perhaps be like this business you mentioned from Georgia, who are large enough to be primes and, you know, be able to take on.
Well, they didn't start off being large enough, of course. And
I'm sure.
we have people who coming from Bangladesh, they're coming from India, they're coming from the Dominican Republic, any number of places, and they're already moving forward. The W pretty much is for white women, okay, because of black women get put in the M section, which makes a lot of sense, I guess, from a data collection point of view. But I'll just leave again with this, and again, you know, whether it's the State of New York Mortgage Agency or the Department of XYZ, you don't see enough people present, you know, in executive positions or administrative positions who can help move this process forward. So you can't expect to see something different if you're still kind of using the same tools and the same methodologies. So again, as I said before, we're available to talk about it, but it really is literally on a department by department process that you're going to have to look at this and understand, which I'm sure you do. I'm not telling you anything you don't know, but when we're looking at that MWBE business and we're looking at the numbers that come in, that yeah, we get it. We have a pretty decent M number, okay, but the number of black people who are part of that is smaller and smaller.
All
okay,
of them.
and
In
if at
every
all,
group.
if at all, and the W part obviously is typically white women, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, in the annual discussions, we're not seeing the kind of movement that one would expect in a place like New York State, for God's sake, as opposed to Georgia. You know, and so yeah, I'll leave it at that.
Follow
for now
up
because
to that is,
we could
but a
keep talking
follow-
about it.
A follow-up,
Sorry.
a follow-up to that is in that utilization and everything, why is 30% an acceptable number?
So the reason for that is actually based on the disparity study that's there. And there is an assessment that's done to determine what is a legally justifiable goal that can be set that's there. So the disparity study that happens, you know, every so often, that's what sets what can be the goal. Because, for example, let's say we said that the goal was, 50% that's there, right?
Mm-hmm.
If we did that and the number of available minority and women businesses didn't support that, then we would be susceptible to a legal challenge that our program isn't constitutional.
But in that same respect, my issue has always been, I've always wanted to know where we start, where we're at right now, and where we're looking to go to. And you know, from last time, I always have my book.
Mm-hmm.
These are your financial statements for the last 7 years. And I have the numbers of the disparity as far as across race groups, all the way across. There has been a decrease in the number of white-owned women businesses over the last 2 years by like 500 businesses. But there's only been an increase of like maybe 100 or so, 200 in all the other categories, which includes Asian, Native American, Hispanic, Black, and on down the line. So the decrease doesn't support an increase on the opposite side. So if you put a blanket across at 30%, you're only going to hit that 30%, maybe 35% in the case of New York, but you have a large group of individuals who, out of 5 different ethnic groups, that are only limited to the 30% portion of the pie, when others are increased by the 70% without any issues. And there's no support above the 1.5 million. Because once you hit that 1.5 million, you're not considered an MWBE anymore. You're out of the program and you're on your own pretty much.
Okay. Well, there are a couple, and this will probably be a longer.
So why don't we do this?
Yes.
I mean, I think that if you've got information you can provide and supplement the meeting, that would be helpful. We do need to wrap up. James, you had one closing?
Yeah, no, I mean, real quick, I mean, you guys obviously have contact information for all of these folks. You have reached out to folks who interact with the agency who are not necessarily in the system yet, and you also have people who have sort of started the application process and dropped out.
Yes.
What would be fascinating, and obviously this comes back to the technology discussion that we've had and everything, what would be amazing is an open language survey to everyone that deals with this agency about like, hey, just tell us what your pain points are,
And if we can use natural language processing to sort of summarize that, so that if we could do a quick survey to all of these businesses, take back all of this information, run it through AI or whatever it is, and figure out what those things are, it would be amazing to just go out and say, tell us what's wrong with this agency. Why aren't you getting, whatever it is, let people complain. It doesn't really matter at that point. But some type of open process of engagement to take back information where we can now process that at scale using technology, but use technology to engage and get as much feedback back as fast as possible, so that policies can sort of learn from where the pain points are, so that we're doing more listening at scale instead of trying to like measuring twice and cutting once when it comes to policy changes.
Yeah, no, I think figure out there's probably some ways that we can collaborate and work on something like that, because I think that would have large dividends for our overall program if that led to increases, you know.
And not just here. Not just at SONYMA, of course.
Well, I'll just quickly say to that, and I think what you're saying is probably looking for something faster. Our policy study is expected to do part of that, but that's going to be for like another 2 years. So if we're looking for something quicker,
I think we could get something back in like 2 months, you know?
Right.
Well, there we go. Well, I'd love to continue that conversation.
Thank you both very much. Appreciate you coming, Jason.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.
You're going to be around for me?
Yes, and I will reach out.
Okay.
Do you need another card?
Yes, I do.
We're gonna wrap up the meeting. The last 6 items are information items. There will be no presentation unless requested. The materials are included in the board package. And I guess I'll ask, or we'll close up the meetings.
Thanks, Jason. Appreciate it. Chairman, assuming the motion and second previously recorded, all in favor of adjourning the meetings, please say aye.
Aye.
Motion is carried. The meetings are adjourned.
Thank you. Thank you all. That was very good.
Yeah.